Welcome back to Skytech-Lens today. We're diving into a story that's reshaping North America's economy. It began with bold tariffs from Washington, meant to protect American jobs, but the reality is far more complicated. These policies have triggered unintended consequences, straining the US-Canada relationship and hitting American wallets. From border towns losing Canadian tourists, to factories scrambling for parts, the ripple effects are everywhere. This isn't just about numbers, it's about livelihoods and communities. So how did we get here and where are we headed? Let's follow the money, trace the supply chains, and hear voices from both sides of the border. This is the story of a policy backfiring and a neighbor forging a new path. Let's start at the border, where towns like Buffalo and Bellingham once thrived on Canadian visitors. For years, Canadians fueled local economies, supporting everything from diners to malls. But tariffs and hostile rhetoric changed everything. Canadians felt unwelcome and, combined with a weaker exchange rate, quietly stopped coming. The result? Empty hotels, vacant storefronts, and double-digit drops in tourism revenue. This wasn't an official boycott, but a grassroots movement, Canadians choosing to spend at home. The economic shock to US border towns is real and immediate. The welcome mat was pulled out and the consequences are visible in every quiet gas station and empty outlet mall. Decades of goodwill are fraying, all because of policies that ignored the human side of trade. The border is quieter, and so are the businesses that once depended on it. The tariffs didn't stop at the border, they escalated fast, with levies up to 35% on steel, aluminum and lumber. Canadian exporters faced existential threats, but the real pain landed on American businesses and consumers. Modern supply chains are deeply integrated, tariffs just made everything more expensive. US manufacturers paid more for parts, passed costs to consumers, and struggled to compete globally. There were no easy alternatives. Domestic suppliers couldn't fill the gap. Companies either absorbed losses or raised prices, fueling inflation. The intended punishment for Canada boomeranged, hurting American industries instead. Tariffs became a sledgehammer, smashing supply chains and leaving both sides to pick up the pieces. Canada didn't just take the hit, it pivoted. The government and businesses sought new markets, rewriting their trade playbook. Canada joined the CPTPP and finalized a deal with the EU, opening doors to Europe and Asia. The share of exports to the US is dropping as goods are rerouted to new destinations. Canadian companies are adapting, innovating, and becoming more competitive globally. Ironically, US tariffs forced Canada to diversify and strengthen its economy. The new strategy is resilience, investing in infrastructure, supporting exporters, and ensuring no single partner holds all the cards. Canada is no longer US first, it's US as one of many. The old dependency is fading, replaced by a broader, more robust approach. The playbook has changed for good. As the trade war heated up, Canadians responded with economic patriotism. The Buy Canadian movement took off. Citizens chose local products, businesses labeled goods with the maple leaf, and social media campaigns surged. It wasn't just about pride, it was about protecting jobs and supporting neighbors. At the same time, Canada focused on strengthening its domestic economy, investing in manufacturing, attracting auto parts production, and building supply chain resilience. The goal, a self-sufficient economy less vulnerable to US politics. The Buy Canadian movement and new policies are two sides of the same coin: consumer action and government strategy. Together, they're reshaping Canada's economic future. It's a declaration of independence and a lasting legacy of the tariff turmoil. The tariffs united Canadian politics. Standing up to Washington became a national cause. Public support for retaliatory tariffs and trade diversification soared. The issue became about sovereignty and respect, not just economics. Canada now faces the 2026 USMCA review from a position of strength, having proven it can weather a trade storm. The political will to resist US pressure is stronger than ever. Canada is ready to push back against protectionism and demand stability in future negotiations. The old assumptions of quiet cooperation are gone. Ottawa is more assertive and strategic. The next round of talks will test whether Washington recognizes this new reality. Will the US adapt, or will it risk further isolating itself? The stage is set for a high-stakes negotiation. What's the verdict? For Canada, the tariffs were painful but transformative. Forced to adapt, Canada emerged more resilient, diversified, and self-reliant. US policies backfired, hurting American manufacturers, fueling inflation, and damaging border economies. Most of all, they alienated a key ally and pushed Canada to seek new partners. This episode proves trade isn't a zero-sum game. Hurting your neighbor hurts you too. Canada now has a plan B. The US must decide if it will learn from this. Will future leaders choose cooperation over confrontation? The answer will shape North America's future. But behind the headlines and political maneuvering, it was small businesses in the United States that bore the brunt of the tariff turmoil. For family-run manufacturers in Michigan, importers in upstate New York, and local retailers across the Midwest, the new levies meant more than just numbers on a balance sheet. They meant tough choices, layoffs, and, in some cases, closure. Cut to stock footage, empty shop fronts, stressed workers in small warehouses, closed signs. Take the example of Miller Tooling, a third-generation machine shop in Ohio. Owner Lisa Miller explains, "Our steel costs jumped overnight. We tried to absorb it, but eventually we had to pass it on to customers. Orders fell, and we had to let go of 2 employees. It's a family business. Letting people go isn't just numbers, it's personal." Generative media animated infographics showing rising input costs and declining orders for small businesses. In Texas, Carlos Rivera, who imports Canadian machinery parts, shares his struggle. Suddenly everything cost 35% more. Our clients, mostly small farms, couldn't afford the new prices. We lost contracts we'd held for years. Stock footage, empty farm equipment lot, silent phone, Rivera looking at invoices. These stories are echoed across the U.S. Small businesses, often with slim margins and little bargaining power, found themselves squeezed between rising costs and customers unwilling or unable to pay more. Many reached out to lawmakers, but relief was slow, and for some it never came. Yet, amidst the hardship, some found ways to adapt. A Vermont craft brewery, for instance, began sourcing aluminum locally, launching a Made in America campaign. While the transition was costly, it fostered community support and a modest recovery. The lesson? Tariffs don't just reshape trade balances, they reshape lives. For thousands of small businesses, the aftermath is a daily reality of hard choices, resilience, and sometimes reinvention. While the US and Canada felt the immediate shockwaves of the tariff battle, the consequences have rippled far beyond North America's borders. Stock footage, global shipping lanes, bustling ports in Asia and Europe, container ships idling at sea. According to Dr. Priya Anand, an international trade economist, when 2 of the world's largest trading partners impose tariffs, global supply chains must recalibrate. The effects aren't just bilateral, they're systemic. Generative media animated map visualizing disrupted trade flows, arrows diverting from North America to Europe and Asia. The data bears this out. World Bank figures show a 7% decline in North American exports to Europe and Asia in the year following the tariffs, while alternative suppliers, such as Brazil and Germany, gained ground. Stock footage, Brazilian steel mills, German machinery assembly lines, Gap 1S. For multinational companies, the tariffs triggered a wave of uncertainty. Many accelerated efforts to diversify sourcing, investing in automation or relocating production altogether. A recent OECD report highlights a 12% uptick in friendshoring, the practice of shifting supply chains to politically aligned countries. Generative media infographics showing rising friendshoring trends, multinational logos moving across a stylized globe, Gap 1S. But the effects weren't all negative. Some emerging economies seized the opportunity to fill gaps left by North American suppliers. It's a double-edged sword, explains Dr. Anand. Short-term disruption, yes, but also long-term realignment. The global market is adapting, sometimes in unexpected ways. Stock footage, Vietnamese electronics factories, Indian agricultural exports, Gap 1S. The lesson is clear. Tariffs may begin as tactical moves between nations, but their aftershocks are felt across continents. The world economy is more interconnected and more vulnerable than ever before. In the midst of economic turbulence, policymakers and experts are searching for ways to cushion the blow of tariffs and restore stability to global trade. Stock footage, Parliament buildings in Ottawa, U.S. Capitol, bustling policy roundtables. We spoke to Dr. Samuel Chen, a senior economist at the International Monetary Fund, about possible solutions. Targeted relief for small businesses is essential, he explains. Temporary tax credits, low-interest loans, streamlined customs processes, generative media, animated graphs showing small business relief measures, icons for tax credits and loans, Gap 1S. Governments are also exploring bilateral talks to ease tensions, stock footage, diplomatic handshakes, trade negotiation tables. Canadian Trade Minister Lisa Fournier tells us, "We're pushing for sector-specific exemptions and working towards a phased rollback of the harshest tariffs." Generative media, timeline animation of tariff reductions, highlighted trade sectors. Meanwhile, Economists are urging a renewed focus on innovation and workforce upskilling. Stock footage, robotic assembly lines, classroom training sessions. Dr. Chen notes, long-term, investing in advanced manufacturing and digital trade can make economies more resilient, less exposed to external shocks. International collaboration. Generative media, animated globe, lines connecting major capitals. While there's no quick fix, these policy shifts and diplomatic overtures offer a glimmer of hope. Dr. Chen puts it, trade wars are costly, but they also force us to innovate and adapt. The challenge now is to turn crisis into opportunity, for businesses, workers, and the world economy. As we've seen, tariffs and trade tensions are reshaping North America's economic landscape, impacting everything from small businesses to international relations. Stock footage, montage of shopfronts, factories. Canada's response has been a blend of resilience, adaptation, and strategic policy shifts. Stock footage, workers in Canadian manufacturing. Stock footage, policymakers in discussion. From relief measures for small businesses to renewed investment in advanced industries, the country is striving to weather the storm. Meanwhile, global supply chains are being tested, and the ripple effects stretch far beyond North America. Generative media, digital map with trade routes, generative media ripples spreading outward, Gap 1S. The challenges are real, but so are the opportunities. Stock footage, students in upskilling programs. Stock footage, entrepreneurs brainstorming. Whether you're a business owner, a consumer, or simply a concerned citizen, staying informed and engaged is more important than ever. Want to make a difference? Generative media, animated checklist. Generative media, icons for stay informed, support local, voice your opinion. Follow trusted news sources, support local businesses, and let your representatives know what matters to you. Trade policy shapes our daily lives. Stock footage, diverse group of people looking thoughtfully at the camera. By understanding the stakes and raising your voice, you help chart the future. Stay tuned, stay curious, and stay involved. The tariff dispute has redrawn North America's economic map. Canada is forging a new path. The US faces higher prices and a weakened alliance. The 2026 USMCA review will be a crucial test. Reconciliation or further drift. The web that once bound our nations is being rewoven, and its final pattern is uncertain. Now, over to you. Can Buy Canadian truly replace US goods? What will make Washington change course? Share your thoughts below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more updates.